Running on Air by eleventy7. Chapter 11. The coastline of Sutton-on-Sea is flat and linear, unlike the Mandarin cliffs of the Cornish coast. The yachts skim across the water like bright kites, their sails catching the ocean breeze. The beaches are white plains, soft and deep close to the footpath, but then the sand firms up like packed brown sugar as it nears the shoreline. They sit on the sea defense wall and watch the yachts. There is a thin line of jagged wood, like teeth, farther along the beach, and Harry suggests it's a shipwreck. Draco, far less inclined to think so fancifully, says it's the remains of a pier. A light argument ensues, but soon dissolves when their attention is caught by two swimmers braving the sea and wading out past the breakers. "They must be freezing," Harry observes. Even in summer the sea here would hold an unwelcome chill. The sun slowly sinks in the sky, casting long shadows over the land. Soon enough the sky is darkening into a hazy dusk, and the yachts slowly come in. Even the swimmers find their way ashore, pausing on the wet sand to towel themselves off and walk briskly towards the car park. Draco and Harry return to the car, and Harry wonders if Draco will ask him to choose another place. Maybe they'll keep driving until spring melts into summer. A high summer, he thinks, with a propane blue sky and fields of gold. But Draco sits on the passenger side and opens the atlas, and so Harry takes his cue and sits in the driver's seat. He readjusts the mirror slightly and reverses out, half expecting Draco to say something about his inadequate driving skills. Harry realized over the course of their journey that Draco is indeed a very skilled driver. But Draco doesn't say anything except, "Turn onto Sutton Road." And it doesn't take Harry long to realize Draco's taking them home again. As the last of the sunlight dies across the land and night slowly settles in, Harry wonders if they will travel beside a river. He wants to see those stars reflected, falling around him as he drives on into the darkness. Somewhere past Huntingdon, Draco falls asleep. London appears as nothing more than a faint orange haze on the horizon, a blur of light illuminating the smog hanging low over the city. The city creeps up slowly, like a tide slowly encompassing them. The rows of houses soon rise and fall, crescendoing into apartment blocks and office buildings, and soon Harry realizes he's nearly home. They arrive at the apartment at 9 o'clock. Harry realizes he hasn't eaten all day, and neither has Draco. Harry's loath to pest Draco about his lack of appetite, but nevertheless sets about making a pot of tea and an enormous stack of toast, too tired to bother with a proper meal. Draco seems in agreement. He eats the toast without comment and disappears into the guest bedroom without another word. No doubt in need of a very long sleep, Harry thinks. Draco started the day easily enough, but it was obvious that he tired throughout the day, and by nightfall he was clearly exhausting. Going away is easy. Coming home is hard. Hermione had warned him about this, he thinks. She had specifically mentioned side effects, but she hadn't gone into any detail. Draco probably needs proper medical care, Harry thinks with worry. People who might actually know about causes and symptoms of that sort of thing. Places that could provide appropriate medication, or even a manor where Draco could be surrounded by familiar rooms, luxurious ones, not a tiny spare bedroom in Harry's apartment, and have the attention of his mother, who knows him far better than anyone else, and be doted on by the house elves. But Draco didn't go to any of those places or people. No, he came to Harry. And perhaps Harry's not doing anything right. He's not organizing things and owling people and telling them Draco's back. He's not doing any of the things he should be doing. He realizes Draco hasn't even got a change of clothes. Harry didn't even think about that. And he didn't even prepare a meal for Draco until tonight, if tea and toast could be called a meal. and he's not doing anything that people normally do to help. No, instead he hasn't said a single word about everything that happened. Just sat in silence with Draco, and gone with him on long car trips that are obviously very exhausting for Draco, and talked about stupid things like Oliver Cromwell and shipwrecks. And maybe he realizes that is exactly why Draco chose to turn up at Harry's apartment rather than anywhere else. On Sunday morning when Harry wakes, he reaches for his glasses and then his wand. His glasses are exactly where he left them. His wand isn't. Sits up, puts his glasses on, and carefully considers the situation. After a long moment, he checks the floor in case his wand rolled off the bedside table. When his wand still fails to appear, he opens up the drawer. Maybe he mistakenly left the wand somewhere else? But he knows he put it next to his glasses. He always does. It's been his routine for a very long time. If Draco took Harry's wand, surely it was for a good reason. Draco hasn't got a wand, Harry remembers. He had borrowed his mother's, Harry knows, but he left it behind when he vanished, and Harry realizes he's been wandless since. Maybe he needed to form a spell, for some reason, and he didn't want to wake Harry, so... Or maybe he took the wand and left. Maybe Draco finally came to his senses, realized the complete madness of the entire situation, sleeping in Harry Potter's apartment, taking road trips together, and left. Perhaps Draco remembered their hateful school years and reminded himself of the hundreds of reasons they could never be friends, and stole Harry's wand in vengeance for Harry stealing his so many years ago. Harry stands up slowly, opens his door, stepping out into the hallway. Water's running somewhere, he realizes, and he glances at the end of the hallway. The bathroom door is open, and Draco's tapping Harry's wand against a paperclip, transfiguring it into a toothbrush. His hair is damp, Harry realizes. He must have had a shower, and Draco's clothes look freshly scorchified. Draco hasn't seemed to notice him yet. Harry stands and watches him brush his teeth, feeling terribly guilty about his earlier thoughts. He'd so easily assumed Draco had just stolen his wand and left. At any moment he thinks Draco will notice him. But Draco's attention seems elsewhere, and Harry stands in the hallway for a long moment, watching Draco hunt through the mirror cabinet for floss. It's strange to watch him so unguarded. Many people, Harry has learned, have little tells and habits that give away their emotions or thoughts. Ron's ear reddening, for example, or Hermione chewing her lip. Narcissa playing with her jewellery, or Astoria tucking her hair behind her ears. But Draco doesn't seem to have any nervous habits. He does everything precisely, efficiently, Harry thinks, and he remembers Draco's way of driving. Every movement a conscious decision. "Going driving today?" Harry asks, deciding to make his presence known. He half expects Draco to jump, but he just turns and glances at Harry, as if he knew Harry was there all along. "No." He takes a dreamless sleep potion from the cabinet and shuts it. Harry frowns slightly. Having problems sleeping? Takes a few steps closer, and Draco stares at him for a moment. There's something distant in Draco's eyes, Harry thinks, and it worries him. "Is everything all right?" "Fine." Harry says nothing. Draco seems to be a little slower than usual, as if he's still exhausted from the journey yesterday. They shouldn't have gone, Harry thinks. "Got my wand," he says, and Draco looks bewildered for a moment before he glances at the wand beside the sink. "Oh, I borrowed it." He picks it up and walks toward Harry, holding out the wand. When he's within reach, however, Harry ignores the wand and takes Draco by the wrist instead, pulling him a little closer. "Is everything all right?" "I said I'm fine." Draco looks away. "Just tired." Having nightmares? Another long pause. Then Draco speaks quietly. I dream of the other time. The one I was trapped in. Sometimes when I wake up, it's confusing. His grip tightens on the potion vial. I'd rather not lose my mind, so... You're going to St. Mango's? That's what Harry should say. Should Al Narcissa and ask for the family medi-wizard. Try and organize a healer. You want me to contact anyone? Harry says instead, and Draco shakes his head. I'm tired. All right. Draco hesitates. Don't contact anyone. I won't. I know I should tell them. It's all right. They can wait. Harry says, and he knows it's a terrible thing to say, but it can wait. I'm not sure I want to come home, Draco had said, and Harry's just grateful Draco's here. It's enough, and he tells Draco that. You've done enough. Go and get some rest. Draco hesitates a moment. When I wake up, he says. We'll go somewhere. How about Dover? Harry says. I've always wanted to see those famous white cliffs. Draco nods. To Dover? He agrees. And then he turns and walks away, Harry's hand slipping from his wrist. Reassured by their plans for Dover, Harry lets Draco sleep for the rest of the morning. He spends the time going through the boxes of Draco's possessions. He'd completely forgotten about them, but the box of clothes, for example, will no doubt prove useful. Draco probably has less use for the old textbook and the calendar diary, but at least they're there. Something familiar. Harry knocks on the guest bedroom door at some point in the afternoon, thinking Draco might want a cup of tea. However, there is no response. He runs a few errands, does apparating to Gringotts, and returns to the apartment at 5 o'clock. He knocks at the bedroom door at 6, then again at 8, thinking Draco might want a meal. When there's still no reply, he begins to worry. Well, perhaps Draco's just very tired. At around 10 o'clock, Harry goes to bed. He checks on Draco first. Draco appears to be fast asleep, the empty potion vial on the side of the table and a half glass of water. Harry watches Draco's face for a long moment. Even asleep, he looks troubled somehow, his mouth a thin, unhappy line, and a faint tension in his face. Harry hesitates, then reaches out and rests a hand on Draco's shoulder. Draco, he says quietly. Draco doesn't move. Draco. Draco stirs then and makes a noise indicative of slight annoyance. Just checking if you need anything, Harry says, feeling relieved. Draco makes another noise at that, although open to interpretation, has a strong hint of go away. Harry straightens up and leaves, quietly closing the door behind him. Monday morning. Harry wakes early and has a leisurely shower before dressing and considered whether to call Holdsworth and plead sickness again. The white cliffs of Dover await him and Draco after all. He fire-calls Holdsworth, whose sympathy is slightly limited this time but still present. Get plenty of rest. You can't afford to take tomorrow off too, she says. Harry ends the fire call and paces around the kitchen, impatient for Draco to waken. After an hour, he finally goes to the bedroom door and knocks. No reply. He waits a moment, then opens the door. Draco looks exactly how Harry left him. Still asleep. Harry thinks with exacerbation, reaching for Draco's shoulder and shaking him gently. Draco, wake up! No reply. Draco feels very warm, though, and Harry, after some hesitation, places a hand against Draco's forehead. Feverish. Harry stands up abruptly. Is this another side effect, or just a cold? Merlin, why did he agree to that stupid trip to Sutton-on-Sea? It's clearly been too much for Draco. Why didn't Harry behave like a responsible adult for once and drag Draco to the healers as soon as he returned, like any normal person would do? He tries unsuccessfully to wake Draco again, but Draco seems completely unresponsive, almost comatose. "Don't tell anyone." That's what Draco had said, and Harry had promised. Draco doesn't want anyone to know, so they won't. Harry realizes he's mindlessly pacing around the room. He stops and leans against the door, staring at Draco. "Don't do this to me, Draco." Slowly, feeling as though his body is immensely heavy, he walks to the fireplace and fire calls his two best friends. He wishes they were angry with him. It would be easier if they were angry. They would speak crossly with him, and Harry would nod and agree that yes, he's clearly had a lapse in judgment. But Ron and Hermione, both perched on the stools by the island counter, look at him with identical expression of hurt and betrayal. "It's about trust, Harry," Hermione says. "Yeah? Do you really think we go running off to tell everyone?" Ron adds. "All you had to do was ask us not to." I know, but it's just... I don't know." Harry feels terrible. I don't know," he repeats. "Anyone in their right mind would have told Narcissa and Astoria and taken Draco to St. Mungo's in." "Well, it's no use blaming anyone," Hermione says suddenly. "You said Malfoy was sick, didn't you? What happened?" Harry looks away, embarrassed that he only involved his friends when it got to this point. "He said he was tired. He's been tired a lot since he came back Friday night, but he slept for nearly 24 hours straight now, and he's got a fever." Hermione frowns and says nothing. "What do you think?" Harry prompts, worried, and Hermione looks at Ron, then back to Harry. "I don't know." "Well, we'll research it, right? You'll have a book or something." Harry trails off as Hermione shakes her head. "There's only ever been 3 recorded cases. I know one of them mentioned fatigue, but I'm not a healer. I don't know." She exchanges another look with Ron, and Ron speaks quietly. "Look, mate," he says to Harry. "I know you said that Malfoy doesn't want anyone to know, but I reckon it's time to get to St. Mungo's." "No," Harry says instantly. "I promised." "Think Malfoy preferred to be alive than to keep a promise," Ron says, and Harry turns away, knowing Ron is right and hating the choice he must make. For a moment, silence eclipses them. Then Harry speaks, his voice laced with defeat. "Call St. Mungo's," he says warily. "I'll Narcissa and Astoria." Hermione puts a reassuring hand on his arm. "You're doing the right thing, Harry," she says. It doesn't feel like it, he thinks.